The United States and Russia completed the largest prisoner exchange in post-Soviet history on Thursday, freeing Moscow journalist Ivan Gershkovich and fellow American Paul Whelan along with dissidents including Vladimir Kara-Murza in a multinational deal that freed 24 people. 3 newly freed Americans are back on U.S. soil after a landmark prisoner swap with Russia. Ivan Gershkovich, Paul Whelan and also Kurmashiva, released from detention in Russia, look on at Kelly Field in San Antonio, Texas, U.S. Gershkovich, Whelan, also Kurmashiva, and the journalist, who holds dual U.S.-Russia citizenship, arrived on American soil just before midnight for a joyous reunion with their families. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris were at Joint Base Andrews, Maryland, to greet them and hug them around. The talks came despite ties between Washington and Moscow at their lowest level since the Cold War following Russian President Vladimir Putin's February 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Biden trumpeted the biggest exchange in a series of exchanges with Russia as a diplomatic achievement as he welcomed the families of Americans back to the White House. Russia has released journalists, dissidents, and others. Deals like this come with tough calls, Biden said. Nothing is more important to me than protecting Americans at home and abroad, he added. Deals like this come with tough calls, Biden said. Nothing is more important to me than protecting Americans at home and abroad, he added. Under the deal, Russia freed Gershkovich, a Wall Street Journal reporter who was jailed in 2023 and convicted in July of espionage charges that he and the U.S. government strongly denied. We can't wait to give him the biggest hugs and see his sweet, brave smile up close, his family said in a statement released by the newspaper. Whelan, a Michigan corporate security executive who has been in prison since 2018 on espionage charges he and Washington deny, and Kurmashiva, a Radio Free Europe/Radio Liberty journalist convicted in July of spreading disinformation about the Russian military, were freed. The trio flew from Maryland to Texas and landed at Joint Base San Antonio on Friday morning and began medical evaluations after spending some time with their families. Kara-Murza, a Kremlin critic and Pulitzer Prize-winning author, is serving 25 years on treason charges and multiple associates of Navalny are among the released rebels. Freed Kremlin critics include veteran human rights campaigner Oleg Orlov, who was convicted of defaming the Russian military, and Ilya Yashin, who was jailed for criticizing the war in Ukraine. Today is a powerful example of why it's important to have friends in this world, Biden said. 6 countries released at least 1 prisoner and a 7th hosted a swap in Ankara, Turkey. Securing the release of Americans illegally held abroad is at the top of the foreign policy agenda for the 6 months before Biden leaves office. In an Oval Office speech discussing his decision to drop his bid for a second term, Biden said we are working around the clock to bring home Americans wrongfully detained around the world. At one point Thursday, he held the hand of Whelan's sister Elizabeth, saying she was practically living in the White House as the administration tried to free Paul. Beckoning Kurmashiva's daughter Miriam to come closer, he took her hand, telling the room it was her 13th birthday. He asked everyone to sing Happy Birthday with him. She wiped the tears from her eyes. The Biden administration has now brought home more than 70 Americans imprisoned in other countries as part of deals that require the U.S. to give up a wide range of criminals, including drug and weapons offenses. The transfers, albeit with fanfare, have fueled criticism that they encourage future hostage-taking and give adversaries leverage over the U.S. and its allies. Thursday's exchange of 24 prisoners surpassed a 2010 deal involving 14. In that exchange, Washington freed 10 Russians living in the U.S. as sleepers, while Moscow deported 4 Russians, including Sergei Skripal, a double agent working for British intelligence. In 2018, he and his daughter were poisoned by Russian agents in Britain. Gershkovich was arrested on March 29, 2023, during a reporting trip to the Ural Mountain city of Ekaterinburg. The son of Soviet immigrants who settled in New Jersey, authorities claimed without providing any evidence that he was collecting classified information for the U.S. He moved to Russia in 2017 to work for the Moscow Times newspaper before joining the Journal in 2022. On a warm night, the freed Americans lingered on the tarmac at Joint Base Andrews, Maryland, soaking up the moment of their return to the U.S. They took selfies with family and friends, shared hugs with Biden and Harris, and hugged loved ones.
Vladimir Kara-Murza could only dream of.
This is an incredible relief for all the family members gathered here. It's a relief to the friends and colleagues all across the country who've been praying for this day for a long time. The deal that made this possible was a feat of diplomacy and friendship.